Hi, this is Roy Worley. Welcome to the interview show that brings on guests from all walks of life. Yeah, it's here that they tell their stories and delve a little deeper into their lives to see what got them where they are. So grab a drink, have a seat, and relax, because this is the Leo Effect.
When was the last time a short movie shook your emotions to the core? When was the last time a short movie caused you to rethink everything you stood for? When was the last time a short movie made you proud to be an American? When was the last time you felt the emotion to stand up and cheer after a short movie? The new short movie, I've Got Your Six, written and directed by Bill Foster, one of the industry's newest and fastest climbing directors, will answer all of those questions. Rarely has there been so much packed into a short movie that when you leave, you'll feel more proud of our American military veterans. A movie that was cast only with American military veterans will have you on the edge of your seat, cheering for our veterans and what makes America great. I've Got Your Six will be hitting the film festival scene soon. Be prepared to drop what you're doing and go see this powerful movie when it comes to your area.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of The Leo Effects. Now, today, I have a very special guest and somebody who is actually I'm trying not to, fanboy or nerd out too hard, but I'm super excited to speak with her. But please allow me to introduce Marissa Lenti. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing super fantastic right now. And so before we really get this ball rolling and get into, kind of my own personal reasons for asking you here, can you let the listeners know, what it is that you do?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Marissa Lenti. I am a voice actress, a ADR director, a ADR scriptwriter, executive producer, kind of jack of all trades, generally working in the anime industry, but I also do some work in video games and all other forms of voiceover. Some of my biggest credits that you might have heard of me from, I am the voice of Moze in Borderlands 3. I'm the voice of Kakot in Dragon Ball Super, Libra in Fairy Tail, Mistress Sadie in One Piece, Ilse Lognar in Attack on Titan. I was Chiaki in Gamers, Momoko in Nambaka, Atago and Z1 in Azure Lane, and that's just a small selection. As far as things that I have directed, I directed the dub of Kimono Friends, as well as did some assistant directing on shows like Beatex and Nanbaka. I was the script writer for Actor Songs Connection, This Boy Suffers from Crystallization, and Tada Never Falls in Love, Bloom Into You, Kase-san and Morning Glories, Armed Girls Machiavellism. And then I was the executive producer on the Konodan collection from Kuma Holdings. So I kind of have my fingers everywhere in the anime pie, as it were, mainly with Sound Cadence Studios, where I work.
Awesome. That's just to name a few. That's so cool. It's amazing that you've done so much. What was it that drew you into the voice acting world?
Well, when I was in college, I was actually going for a costume design degree. And I had been a seamstress for a little under a decade at that point. Now I've been a seamstress for a little over a decade. And I had been running my own online business, selling cosplay, selling stuffed animals, sewing all the time. But once I got to college and I started doing it, what would eventually become my job in the theater, making costumes for the theater, I realized it wasn't the path I wanted to be on. And so I was looking for, my true path, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking back to all the things I used to do. I used to do horseback riding. I used to play the violin, and I used to be a child actor. And I was like, oh, acting, I really liked acting. Maybe, there's something there. And I was at that time also watching a lot of anime with my roommates. We were in the middle of watching Detective Conan. We were watching Hunter x Hunter. We were watching the show called Hamatora, and anything else that came up on Crunchyroll or Funimation. And we were like, oh, all the voice actors in this, they must be actors. the dubs for these must get done somewhere in the United States. And so I sort of changed my path, started doing voice and speech classes, phonetics classes, acting classes, and kind of got back into the swing of things, and became a voice actor. And that was 6 years ago now.
Wow. And you've done all of that in 6 years. That's so impressive.
Oh, thank you. There was a year in the middle, between graduating college and moving here where I was not voice acting. But I'd say, yeah, I've been doing this about a solid 5 years.
Well, yeah, after you finish up college, you have to go backpack through Europe, right? I mean, but
Absolutely.
when you were switching over and changing gears and everything, did you have a lot of support with that, or did people be like, "Oh no, you need a real job"?
People generally in my life were very supportive because I've always been sort of eclectic. I think they sort of expected it from me. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a seamstress. And they were like, sure. And then I was like, actually, I'm an actor. And they were like, whatever. Because I had wanted to be an actor before. So that wasn't anything new. I think the thing that surprised my friends and family the most was when they were like, well, where are you going to go to do this job? Because you can do anime dubbing from New York, which is where my family was from. But I said, nope, I'm going straight to Texas because that's where Funimation is and Sentai Film works and all that cool stuff. And that's what surprised my family the most. They were like, you're moving to Texas? But I had a feeling that if I stayed in New York and I just lived at my parents' house, and tried to do voiceover from there, that I would get lazy. Just if you can live with your parents and they're paying for everything, there's really no get up and go motivation.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I really wanted to move somewhere, and my options were LA or Texas. And fresh out of college, Texas is a lot more friendly to the wallet. So I started there. I went there. And I'm glad I did because I've gotten to work with so many cool people and on so many different cool projects from here in Texas. So yeah.
That's awesome. And, it's great that you had that level of support. That's really good. Now you've done...
I'm lucky.
Right. And you've done so many different facets, not just the acting part, but the directing and producing and everything. Like, do you have a particular part of all of that you like more than the others?
Honestly, I think directing might be my favorite.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because it's a lot like the acting part, because you're still going through the script and you're still finding the cores of these characters and you're still playing and finding the right reads. And but you're working with an actor, and you get to do that for every single actor that's in the thing. It's like voice acting, but you're doing every role, and you're just putting trust into somebody else to kind of bring that vision to life person by person. It's so cool putting together a cast in the audition process and then having them come in one at a time, and slowly the show starts to fill out. It's a very fulfilling experience. I think acting for me would be, either equal or an extremely close second, but I do think directing's my favorite.
Right on. That's really cool. I hadn't considered that would be the way it goes as a director. Most of the time you think of the iconic, they're just sitting in their chair yelling cut and action.
Not so on anime. Anime, the director is the one that has to know the whole story front to back, because the actors are not getting their scripts in advance. So you're explaining everything as you go and kind of telling people like, and this is what your character's feeling, and here's why, and here's their backstory, and you've got it all in your brain. So especially with anime, and video games are like this too, the director is kind of steering the entire ship. And if you don't give the actors, the tracks that they need to follow, it makes their lives harder. So a good director is really steering the ship so that the actor can just act. It's not it is not a hands-off process in any way.
Oh, okay.
It's a very hands-on process, and I love it.
Well, somebody's got to.
I mean, I have a director who I look up to a lot, Joel McDonald. He's currently the director on Borderlands. And he was also my director on One Piece way back in the day. And he said once, if you cast well, your job is 90% done. And that is true. If you cast actors who are really talented and will bring a lot to the table, all that is left for you to do as the director is to just tell them what's going on. And that's the last 10%, is just bring them in, tell them what's going on, let them loose. They're going to do 90% of your job for you.
Right on.
Yeah. So I say it's a hands-on process in that I have to be, engaged, but it's not, it's not super difficult. It's just kinetic, which is cool.
Right. Yeah. And that kind of leads me into like the next part, which is the Borderlands part of things. And you played a pretty prolific character in Borderlands 3, which was Moze. And I don't know if all of my listeners, I know there's a few of them out there that do know who Moze is and where Borderlands 3 is and things like that. But I mean, is there a way that maybe you could do a little like log line of who Moze is?
Sure. Well, Borderlands 3, obviously the newest video game in the series as far as this recording is concerned.
Right.
It's a shooter game, and it's first person, so that you don't get to see the character that you're playing as a lot, but the characters are very personality driven. And so at the beginning of the game, you get to pick between 4 of them, 4 different Vault Hunters, and Moze is one of the ones that you can pick. She's the gunner. She is very associated with mechs and fixing and just the the more technical side of things. And she is an ex-military soldier, so she's this extremely military character who slowly comes out of her shell over the course of the game.
Exactly. And that is just awesome, like the mechs and how the characters evolve throughout the game. So, kind of talking on that, like how did it come to be that you became Moze? Like, was it an open casting call, or were you asked specifically, or how did that all come into play?
Sure. It was a casting call, not specifically sent to me, but I was invited to try out. There's a local studio in town that runs all of Gearbox's auditions, and thankfully they included me on the list for this one. I tried out along with everybody else, and it just so happened that, picked me for Moze, which I'm very, very grateful for. And yeah, pretty much the most normal casting process you could ever think of,
Oh, okay. That's fair.
And then the director, sent me a message being like, "Hey, congrats, you're Moze, and we'll see you in a couple months." And those next few months were like, I was so wired the entire time, just waiting to go in. And about a year later, I finally got to announce that I was Moze.
Awesome. And when you went in and you were doing the audition and everything, did they say like a generalized, this is what we want her to sound like? Or was it more like, okay, here's the character, now give it a voice?
I auditioned from home, actually. And that's how a lot of voiceover auditions are done nowadays. Yeah. Voiceover, the process of getting something cast and recorded moves so fast nowadays. Generally, most studios don't have the time for in-person auditions. So I recorded from home, not the whole game, just my audition. I recorded my audition from home. There was a little like paragraph of this is basically who she is, and this is basically what we want her to sound like. And then I just did, what came to me. Her voice is very similar to my natural voice. So I kind of just, let it sit there and shut it off. And then, yeah.
That's so cool. And was this just like a job that like, oh, hey, we happen to have this job when you say you were invited? Or was it, are you a fan of the Borderlands games?
Oh, I mean, no, yeah. At first it was just a job, and I've never really heard of a casting call going out being like, we're looking for people who already know the franchise, because thankfully the company and the director like very much welcomed me into the franchise when I got there. So when I showed up and they said, "Have you ever played a Borderlands game?" and I was like, "No." They were like, "Don't worry about it." And I was like, "It's not because I didn't want to play the games. It's just that I'm really garbage at shooter games, so I never tried." And they were like, "That's fine. We're going to explain the plot and the world to you." So they brought me in. They explained everything. They gave me this really good picture of like what it was like. and I experienced the world of Borderlands for the first time in the recording booth.
Oh, wow.
And then after they gave me a code so that I could play the game. And I've been playing it on my Twitch ever since. And
Oh,
I'm at the final
nice.
boss. I'm at the final boss. So me being garbage at shooters didn't prevent me from finishing the game. And I'm really proud.
Yeah, that's great. Well, congratulations on reaching the final boss.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I haven't quite made it that far, but I really do enjoy Borderlands 3. The biggest thing for me is the time. But that's so cool. Like, it's so totally jealous. Like, so amazing. And going back to the world of voice acting in general and being a director and all of that, do you have a particular like voice or style that you like to use above the others?
Above the others.
Yeah, so like I guess to kind of narrow down, like, do you prefer doing like children voice or like a high pitch, low pitch, just your normal tone?
Well, if I'm going to be really honest with you, my favorite thing to voice is animals.
Really?
So, if someone comes to me and they're like, hey, we're going to have you in this show, but sorry, you're just going to be the cat. Like, you're not going to talk. I'm like, I'm there. I'm absolutely there. It is not, you don't have to apologize because I love voicing animals. It's just so much fun.
That's fair. I never really put that together that, an animal does need to be voiced by someone. I mean, I feel like it would be kind of hard getting an animal to make that sound on command when you're trying to record an anime.
Exactly. And sometimes animals in anime will make noises that the real animals cannot do.
This is true. And sometimes there are no real animals in the case of, like Appa from...
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. So of all this stuff that you've done, you've been in all kinds of things. Have you ever, like, just wanted to focus on one thing? Like, oh, I only want to do video games?
No, never. I love voiceover, and no matter what the medium is, I just want to do more stuff. I will say, like, I never want to quit anime. Anime seems to be something that people are like, when are you going to move on from anime and do other stuff? And I'm like, never. I want to, if I, kind of spread my wings and start doing more video games and more prelay cartoons and more this, more that, I want it to be on top of my anime work, not in spite of it. I just love voicing characters, I don't really care where it is. I'd like to do more talking toys. I think that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah, just more interesting types of projects would be cool, but on top of what I'm already doing. I don't want to ever narrow in on one thing.
Okay. Well, that's pretty fair, to be honest. And is it strange or weird to hear your voice coming from a character on TV or a video game?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It's a little weird, but it's cool. It's weird in a cool way. There's a great when I streamed Borderlands, I watched back my face when I first heard myself in the game, and you can see me going absolutely insane. And the other funny thing is I'll watch anime with my parents and the rest of my family, and they'll try and guess which one is me. And they'll get it wrong.
Oh, no.
I'll be like, you don't recognize my voice? And they're like, you sound different. I don't know.
That's great. That's actually a really good idea. That would be fun.
Which one is it? Which one's me?
You're right. Exactly.
So that can be fun too.
And, with being the director and the producer and the actress and doing all the different facets, like, do you have to deal with script changes a lot?
Well, it depends. So I script write as well.
Oh yeah.
And depending on the show, things can change. So the most that I've ever touched a script was for Discotheque Media's dub of Kimono Friends, because I was the I was one of the actors, I directed it, and I wrote it. So in that instance, I wrote the script. So once I got into the booth to direct, I wasn't going to be making very many changes because I already knew exactly what I wrote and why I wanted it that way. The script had gone through a script supervisor by that point. So I handed it off to a supervisor who then made some small tweaks to my writing and then gave it back to me to direct with. So there were some changes there. But I was not making a lot of changes in the booth. And the changes that did end up getting made were usually just for like timing. Oh, this actress speaks a little bit faster than I expected, or this actress speaks a little bit slower than I expected. We have to add words, take away words. Minor changes like that. So really nothing crazy. You will see more adjustment and changes when the director and the writer are different. The writer will give you, okay, here's, my vision. And then maybe the director will say, this is good, but in this scene, I want to do this instead. And you'll make on the fly changes. And I've had that happen as well, where I've been the director, but not the writer. Or where I've been the writer and not the director. And, the script that comes out the other side is very different from the script that I put in. But it's because on top of the writer's work, there's the script supervisor's work, there's the director's work, maybe the actor ad-libs something that's fun and gets put in. One of the greatest examples, I think, is I wrote the script for Actor Songs Connection, which we did over at Soundcaden Studios for Funimation Simuldub season last season. And my script, I think, is good, but it is so enriched by what the director and the script supervisor and the actors tweaked. So what came out the other side is actually quite different. But it used my script as like a base, and then they sort of went crazier with it.
Cool.
And I think it's so good for that. But yeah, any given anime script is going to pass through so many hands before it gets to air that, I can't point to something and say that's exclusively my work, because it's not true.
Okay.
Yeah, everything's collaborative. So dealing with script changes, yeah, I guess, but it's a very normal part of the process.
That's fair. That's a good answer. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the voice actor part of this. It could be director, producer, screen or script writer. What advice would you have for somebody coming into this crazy world?
Sure. Well, my number one piece of advice that I always tell people, I actually have a panel that I give at conventions called From Fan Fiction to Fan Reality, which is about making the jump from being a fan to working in the anime industry. And my biggest piece of advice is make stuff. Before you go pro, make stuff. I don't care what stuff it is. It could be, if you want to be a script writer, it could be fan fiction. It could be your own original stories, whatever, but have your own backlog of writing work that you are working on and you are putting out there right now. You don't have to even put your name on it. You just have to do it. You have to have that experience. If you want to be a voice actor, do your own radio plays or audition for indie games or something, like anything that will be out there that people can go and they can listen to. If you want to be a director, put together the radio play, put together the indie game cast, contact places and be like, do you need a casting director? I'm willing to do it. Because that way you're not stumbling into the pro space being like, I want to do this, but I don't have any experience. The indie scene and the fan content scene is so valuable for getting your feet wet and for, being able to do these things. When I became a script writer, I had never written a script before, but I had written original fiction. And that was, they were like, have you ever written anything before? And that's what I told them. And that was the basis of my work.
Cool.
And if I didn't have that, in my history, it would have been so hard for me to, first thing, you're being paid for this. It better be good writing,
Right.
And people who are like, I don't know how to get discovered, in voiceover, like I want to do this stuff. That's why I'm always like, make your own stuff. Because good example, I was in an indie radio play that a friend of mine put together, and she is, one of those types who like, she wants to be a director, so she directs and makes her own stuff. And when it came out, I watched it and I went, whoa, I love the rest of this cast. I need to know these people. And I contacted her and I said, give me everyone's, contact information. I don't care how new they are. I love this whole cast. And
Oh,
then I
that's
started
awesome.
sending them stuff. Yeah. Well, it's, that's the circle of life. If you want to be a voice actor, it's all this director seeing you in this thing. And, then they'll contact you and maybe you'll submit your stuff to a couple people and that could work. But I think that a director finding you and already genuinely liking your work is an even stronger way to get in because they've already decided that they like you. So people who don't know how to get discovered but aren't putting themselves out there are going to struggle. So just make stuff, or if you can't make stuff, get involved in stuff, indie stuff that's going to go online, stuff that will be discoverable. And even if some of them nobody sees, that's still good experience. And then the one that everybody sees, maybe the one that gets you to the next rung of your journey.
Gotcha. That's awesome advice. I really like that. Yeah. Well, I guess kind of my final, second to last question, I guess it would be, is if you had any projects that you wanted to promote or, that you could, NDAs, whatever. But I know some people come on and they have projects that they really want to talk about and they want to get it out there to the world. So if you have anything like that, now would be a good time to tell people about it.
Absolutely. Well, nothing upcoming that I can really talk about. A lot of stuff's under lock and key right now, but some things that are pretty relevant right now that people should check out. Actor Songs Connection just finished up its simuldub run, so all 12 episodes are now available to watch on Funimation's website. Again, I was the scriptwriter on that, but also the studio that I work at did all the ADR production for that, including all of the music production. All the songs are dubbed, which we're really, really proud of. And I also voice a cat in that, which, as you know, as I've said in this interview, is my favorite. Some other things, Thermi Romi, where I was the narrator. And again, that was worked on by my team over at Sound Cadence. That just dropped on Crunchyroll, so it's available to watch in English now. Galaxy Express 999, Eternal Fantasy. I voiced a cat in that one too. And that is newly available, I believe, to pre-order. I believe it's coming out next month, the Blu-ray. Obviously, Borderlands, still ongoing, still, new DLC just came out not that long ago.
Yep.
There's another one I want to say, and now it's escaping my brain.
Oh, no.
Oh, The Ones Within, another Funimation show where I played one of the main characters, is also going to have all of its episodes available on Funimation. And Nanbaka, which is actually kind of an old title. It was something that I was in 2016, but it is just now from Madman Entertainment getting its first Region B release. So that's like Australia, New Zealand, and a couple other places. So if you've never seen the dub, or if you've been waiting to pick up a Blu-ray until it was available in your region and you are in Region B, now's the time to go pick it up. It's one of my favorite shows, favorite dubs I've ever been in.
Fantastic. And my last question that I have, and this one's completely optional, completely up to you, would be if you want to tell the listeners what your social medias are so that they can go click the likes and subscribes and follows.
Well, sure. I am at Marissa Lenti at pretty much everything. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you just look my name up, it usually pops up. I've also got a Twitch. That is Lenti. I'm usually playing Borderlands, or sometimes I'll play something random and fun, like we just had a Viva Pinata stream not that long ago. And I've got a YouTube channel, which I think you can also just look up my full name, Marissa Lenti, and it should pop up. I post visual reels every year of just like a roundup of all the stuff I got to do that year. And I'm hoping to also post some compilations from the Twitch streams pretty soon. So that is going to be upcoming, and I hope you guys like it.
Perfect. That was great. Wow. Well, Marissa.
It's an art at this point.
Right? I just want to say thank you so much again for coming on the show and speaking with me. This has been just a boatload of fun.
Of course.
I've genuinely enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And thank you to all the listeners who tuned in to check this out. This one has been one of the better ones that I have done, and I'm glad that it was with somebody as awesome as Marissa, and I hope that you all enjoyed it too, and we will see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, creatures of all ages, what an amazing show. Thank you for lending an ear and joining us. I'm the host, Ray Rumsey, and if you want to hear more interviews, simply head to anywhere podcasts are heard, Facebook or Twitter, and search The Leo Effects, with an A, not an E. If you'd like to hear me doing silly voices and making a general fool of myself, head over to Shattered Dungeons on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We live stream every Tuesday night. More projects are in the works. For now, stay tuned for more interviews. To book yourself as a guest, you can head to theleoeffects.wixsite.com/podcast or send me an email at theleoeffects@gmail.com. Remember, this has been The Leo Effects, and great shows require great listeners, just like you. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.